Alright, welcome back. We are going to extend our knowledge of hands-on equations a little bit today just by looking through a few more examples and talking about what happens when our answer is not a whole number. So let's start by just pausing the video and you trying out this warm-up based on what we did in our last lesson. We're going to start out with two groups of 2x plus 3. Balanced with x plus 21. I'm going to go ahead, firstly remove one triangle from both sides. So now I have 3 triangles and 6 balanced with 21. And regroup my 21 into 6 and 15. So I can remove 6 from both sides, which means I have 3 triangles balanced with 15. So our triangle is equal to 5. Doing our check, 2 times the quantity of 2 times x plus 3 is equal to x plus 21. So as we're going through this, I did my 2 times 5 first, and now I'm going to do my 10 plus 3, which is 13. And then finally 2 times 13 is 26. So our check looks good. All right, so just kind of looking at an example here. We have 3x plus 2 is equal to or the same as x plus 5. So we're going to go ahead and apply all the legal moves that we can. I'm going to start by removing a pawn or a triangle from both sides. So now I have 2 triangles with 2 balanced with 5. So now I can regroup my 5 into a 2 and a 3. And with that 2 and 3, I am then able to remove a 2 from both sides, leaving me with 2 triangles balanced with a 3. So now we have to think about just like we've done before. So normally we have this number that we can split equally. Now we don't, because 3 doesn't split equally between 2 triangles. But we can still do it, it's just not in a whole number type of way. And so our x ends up equaling 1.5. And we can write it as either a fraction or a decimal, whichever one you're most comfortable with working with. And our check is still going to work the same way. So it's going to be 3 times 1.5 plus 2 is the same as 1.5 plus 5. So 3 groups of 1.5 ends up being 4.5 plus 2, and 1.5 plus 5 is 6.5. And then going back here to finish it off, we end up with both sides equaling 6.5. So that's kind of that whole move that we were just looking at. We're just dividing it into equal parts. So 3 is split between 2 groups, making each group 1.5. So when you don't get a whole number value, we're just going to divide the value by how many triangles there are in the statement. So those 2 triangles split between, 3 is split between those 2 triangles. So we could have actually just left it as 3 over 2 as well. It kind of just depends on the situation. Sometimes it's going to make more sense to leave it that way, and sometimes you might want to leave it as a decimal. Let's go through the first example together. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out my x plus 2x plus 7 is going to be balanced with 5x and 2. I'm going to go ahead and opt to remove triangles first. I'm going to go ahead and remove 3 triangles from both sides. That leaves me with a 7 on the left side, and then 2 triangles and 2 on the right. I'm going to regroup my 7 into a 5 and a 2. So now I can remove 2 from both sides of my balance. So 5 needs to be split between my 2 triangles, making this 5 halves, or 2 1/2 is equal to our triangle. So looking at our check, we would have 2 1/2 plus 2 times 2 1/2 plus 7 is equal to 5 times 2 1/2 plus 2. So 2 times 2 1/2 is 5. 5 times 2 1/2 is 12 1/2 plus 2. Oh, supposed to be 2 1/2. 5 plus 7 is 12, plus an additional 2 1/2 makes 14 1/2. 12 1/2 plus 2 is also 14 1/2. So our answer goes ahead and checks. All right, why don't you pause the video and try this one out on your own, and then when you're ready, go ahead and restart the video so you can check your work. So 2 groups of 2x plus 3 is the same as x plus 7. Start by removing a triangle from both sides. So now I have 3 triangles and 6, balanced with 7. I'm going to regroup my 7 into 6 and 1. Now I can remove 6 from both sides. So I have 3 triangles, balanced with 1. And with this one, because it's 1 split between 3 triangles, I'm going to leave this as a fraction because 1/3 is a repeating decimal, which makes it really difficult to approximate it and end up with the exact answer. So just to practice, so you can see this becomes 2 times the quantity of 2 times 1/3, plus 3. Is equal to 1/3 plus 7. This becomes 7 and 1/3. So this becomes 3 and 2/3. So 3 and 2/3 and 3 and 2/3 would give, or 2 groups of 3 and 2/3 gives us 7 and 1/3, balanced with our 7 and 1/3. All right, same thing. So go ahead and pause the video and go through as much as you can on your own. And then when you're ready, restart it so you can check your work. Kind of practicing all those moves. So we have 4x. We're going to take away 2x plus 9 is balanced with 5x. But we have to take away 1x. And this is from our original moves. So I'm going to go ahead and draw what our new balance looks like, which is 2x and 9 is balanced with 4x. I can remove 2 triangles from both sides. So now I have a 9 balanced with 2 triangles. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Doing our check, 4 times 4.5 minus 2 times 4.5 plus 9 is equal to 5 times 4.5 minus 4.5. So 4 times 4.5 ends up being 18. Minus 2 times 4.5 is 9 plus 9. 5 times 4.5 is 22.5 minus 4.5. 18 minus 9 plus 9 gets us to 18. 22.5 minus 4.5 is also 18. And then we just have one more example for those of you that want another example. So same thing, we're going to start with our 3 triangles and 7, balance with 2 groups of x plus 14 minus x. So even though that x is on the outside, we can go ahead and take away one of the ones that we already started with. So now starting with what we had left over, 3x plus 7 is balanced with a triangle and 28. If I put those groups together, I'm going to go ahead and remove a triangle from both sides. So now I have 2 triangles and 7 balanced with 28. Try to make that a little bit clearer to see. I'm going to regroup 28 into 7 and 21, making it easier to remove my 7 from both sides. And now 2 triangles balanced with 21, so it becomes 21 divided by 2, or 10.5. So the check, 3 times 10.5 plus 7 is the same as 2 times the quantity of 10.5 plus 14 minus 10.5. So 3 times 10.5 is 31.5 plus 7. 10.5 and a half plus 14 is 24.5 minus 10.5. So 31.5 plus 7 is 38.5. 2 times 24.5 is 49 minus 10.5 is going to give us 38.5 again. So as you can see, even though we end up with these fraction or decimal answers, it's still following that same process, and that's what I want you to remember as you're working through this. So if you don't know what the number is, it's just taking that number of triangle or the value that you're left with divided by that number of triangles.